You're 5 years old. You wake up before dawn, not because someone told you to, because the camp is moving. You grab your share of what needs to be carried, you follow the adults into the cold. You don't cry about it because no one around you is crying about it. By midday, you've walked 6 miles. You watched your older cousin track a deer by reading broken grass stems. You already helped dig up tubers with your bare hands. And you saw someone from your group die overnight from an infected wound. None of this feels strange to you, because this is just Tuesday. Ancient childhood wasn't just hard. It was a completely different kind of existence, one that would be unrecognizable to any kid alive today, and probably to you. And the more archaeologists keep digging, the stranger and stranger it gets. Start with survival odds. Because they're ugly. Researchers studying pre-agricultural societies estimate that 40 to 50% of children didn't make it to age 15. Not because people were negligent or didn't care, because the world was genuinely that lethal. No medicine, no antibiotics, no sanitation. A scratch could go septic. A bad winter could starve an entire group. Childbirth itself killed people at rates we can barely picture now. So every single ancestor you have got lucky repeatedly as a small child before they ever got the chance to become your ancestor. The ones who didn't get lucky, you're not descended from them. That's the only reason this history exists at all. And it all starts at birth. The first thing ancient babies had. Everyone. Not just their mother, not just their parents, everyone. Anthropologists call it alloparenting. In hunter-gatherer societies, infants aren't raised by one or two people. They're raised by the entire group. Grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, unrelated adults. A child born into a camp of 30 people had 30 people watching whether they survived. There's a theory called the grandmother hypothesis, proposed by anthropologist Kristen Hawkes in 1997. The argument, human women live unusually long past their reproductive years for one specific reason. Grandmothers fed their grandchildren. While parents hunted, grandmothers dug tubers. While mothers recovered from birth, grandmothers processed food and kept the other kids alive. Grandmothers weren't optional. They were infrastructure. And this network meant infants were in physical contact with someone almost all day. Studies of the Hadza people in Tanzania, one of the most studied modern hunter-gatherer groups, show infants are held or carried for 80 to 90% of daylight hours because you put a baby down in tall grass 100,000 years ago and something ate it, so you didn't put the baby down. The mother carried the infant in a sling while gathering food, while walking, while doing everything. The baby slept when the mother slept. Breastfeeding lasted 3 to 4 years. Not because ancient mothers were especially devoted, because it was birth control. Extended breastfeeding suppresses fertility, spacing out children so the group was never overwhelmed with more mouths than it could handle. The second thing ancient children had, no curriculum, no lessons. No one sat a 7-year-old down and explained how to track an animal. You watched and watched and watched, until one day your hands started doing what the adults' hands did, almost without thinking. Developmental psychologists who study hunter-gatherer children call it learning by observing and pitching in. Kids absorbed skills by being present while adults worked, then inserting themselves whenever they could be useful. A child who wanted to help skin an animal was handed a scraper and allowed to try. A child who grabbed a digging stick and started working the ground alongside an adult wasn't told to go play somewhere else. Because play and work weren't separate categories, they were the same category. Children practiced throwing. They built small shelters out of sticks. They mimicked animal calls. They tracked beetles and lizards the same way adults tracked antelope. They role-played hunts with sticks for spears. What looked like play from the outside was every generation downloading survival knowledge from the one before it, without anyone organizing the curriculum. Studies of Hadza children show that by ages 5 and 6, they're genuinely contributing to the group's food supply through foraging, not symbolically, actually finding food the group eats. By 8 and 9, they're making fire. By 10, they know which plants are edible, which are medicinal, and which ones will kill you if you eat the wrong part. At no point did anyone give them a worksheet. But here's the part nobody talks about: the death. Ancient children saw it constantly, not on a screen, right in front of them. Animals animals butchered before they could talk in full sentences, people dying from infected wounds in the night, births that went wrong, elders fading through cold seasons, children lost to predators, to accidents, to winters. There was no shielding kids from any of it. Psychologists talk about death anxiety as something that troubles adults for their entire lives. In ancient societies, children were so consistently present in the full cycle of life and death that it stopped being something abstract and terrifying. It was just the rhythm. The deer died. The old man died. The baby didn't make it through winter. You grieved. Then you moved camp. In Shanidar Cave, Iraq, archaeologists found the remains of a Neanderthal man who had a healed broken arm, limited vision in one eye, and severe arthritis. He lived to about 40 years old. He couldn't hunt, he probably couldn't fight, but his group kept him alive for years anyway. Someone was feeding him. Someone chose to. Ancient children saw this too. They absorbed not just the brutality of the world, but the care threaded through it. Both things at once, before they were old enough to think the two were contradictory. The third thing ancient children had: almost no adolescence. Puberty wasn't the start of a confusing in-between phase. It was a threshold. You crossed it, and you were expected to function as an adult. No figuring yourself out. No gap year. The group needed you operational. Many ancient societies marked this transition with ritual, physical ordeals, periods of isolation, ceremonies designed to be genuinely difficult, not just celebratory. Because the group needed confirmation that you could handle real pressure before they relied on you in real situations. At Atapuerca in Spain, archaeologists found the remains of a child estimated at about 12 years old, from roughly 530,000 years ago. Bone analysis showed stress markers from heavy physical labor, the same changes you see in adult hunters. At 12, not carrying a school bag, working at a level that left permanent damage in their skeleton. By the time an ancient human was 13 or 14, they had more raw lived experience than most modern adults accumulate in 30 years. So what do you do with all of this? Ancient childhood was communal in a way that barely exists anymore. It was dangerous in ways we can't fully picture. It was practical from ages that would horrify most modern parents. And yet, hunter-gatherer studies keep turning up the same finding. Children in these societies laugh more than children in industrialized ones. They spend more time in free physical play. They're rarely described as bored. Not because their lives are easier, because everything around them is immediate, real, and connected to something that actually matters to the people around them. They weren't learning to pass a test. They were learning to exist. We look at ancient childhood and feel something like grief for it. No protection. No slow runway before life asks something real of you. No keeping the hard things at a comfortable distance. But those children grew into adults who tracked animals across 20 miles of open grassland, who made clothes from hides stitched with bone needles, who fed their disabled group members through winter, who raised children cooperatively across entire communities with no institutions, no support systems, and no safety net, and did it for 2 million years without stopping. The brutal childhood didn't break them. It was the only reason they could do any of that. And every single one of us is sitting here because some ancient 10-year-old figured out how to be indispensable before they were old enough to doubt they could.